Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning, Ruthierocks. It's good to see you. Happy Monday.
It's good to be seen. It's good to be seen. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Was all over the newspaper yesterday. Sunday's edition was all about Martin Luther King.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So today I did the stats, and it looks like we're selling 69 houses a day in December, and that gives us 71 days of inventory. That's pretty, that's like more than 2 months. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, whatever it is, we got to keep working.
Yes, yeah. So we listed about 68 homes over the weekend. That was good. And we got 4,944 listings. I'm looking for that to go above 5,000, but I think we're going to do it. We've listed some more $1 million plus homes. I think, let's see, last week we had $677 million plus homes. This week we have 692. So that's better. That's a lot better. Would you agree?
Well, I definitely think the $1 million market is one that I look at to see how healthy the market is. And that's not a big jump one way or the other. So to me, it looks steady. It's more, but it looks steady.
It's steady. Yes, it's steady. And we're doing about 2.5 a day. That's not too bad.
Okay.
For the first 2 weeks. And
Okay.
Let's see, I actually calculated that based on Friday's date because we didn't have any activity over the weekend. And so that takes into consideration January 1st plus, the weekends. So I think it's pretty good.
Well, we'll wait and see. I'm hoping we get more to the 4 number, closer to the 4 number per day.
Yeah.
2.5 to me sounds low.
Yeah, 2.5 a day. Yeah, well, we'll see, hopefully. Let's see, we're doing about 254 investor homes per day. So what is that, Jimmy? Let me do my math here. Divided by 12. That's what, 20 a day? 21 a day. So we're hanging in there with that number. That hasn't really changed at all, which is amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So Jimmy, let me get this this thing. When Martin Luther did his famous speech, okay, this is what he said. He said, "Now is the time to open the doors of opportunity to all of God's children." And so I'm going to pull up this chart, which Steve Harney put on his Twitter today. And I think it's appropriate. Let's see, let's get it here. It's an interesting chart too. I'd like your take on it. Let me hide this for a second. So this is median wealth for households age 65 and older by race. So I've never seen this chart before. The Joint Center for Housing Stats put it out. And Steve Harney, who is the owner of Keeping Current Matters, he's the one that posted this on his Twitter this morning.
Can you take me off the feed so I can see the chart better? It's because it's kind of small.
Okay, let's see. Can you see that now or not?
It's really about the same size. It is bigger.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get it over here. You know how this isn't always easy. There, how's that?
That's bigger. Yeah, that's bigger.
I lucked out on that.
That's bigger.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
So when you look at the home ownership versus the renter, look at the difference of the net worth. So this is net worth. This isn't numbers of people. This is the net worth that they have, the wealth they have.
So short version is regardless of what race, religion, color you are, owning a home puts you way ahead of a renter.
Yes.
Doesn't really matter. Although there's less disparity between whites and blacks and Asians and Hispanics. There is less, but it's still a lot more than a renter.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. So Jimmy, I know you're the better statistician than I am. If you put these together, like if you separate the white or the Asian, the Hispanic, and the black from the white, Would you say they have more ownership?
No, because they have a smaller percentage of the population in America.
I see. Yeah.
So
Interesting. Very interesting. I like this stat. Yeah. I mean, it really, do you think that like the gals and the guys that do the Spanish market, do you think this would be helpful for them?
well, I think it's helpful for anybody in real estate, no matter what race or color you are. You can show them the difference between renting and owning. So it's not so much culture specific as it is just specific between owners and renters. To look at the breakdown of percentage of the different ethnicities that own houses versus rent houses, I have a feeling that would be that the chart would look pretty different.
Yeah.
But everybody that owns a house is going to have more equity and more net worth than a renter by far.
Yes. Yeah. Just there's, when you look at it, there's a lot that goes into this. And this is 65 and older.
I think what we need to focus on is, why would somebody not want to rent? And it's the net worth is one of the arguments, because at some point you're going to want to leave something to your kids. If you have kids, you're going to want to leave something to your kids. And at some point you don't want the landlord to say, I'm selling the house. If you're 65 and your landlord says, I'm selling the house, you got to move, and you're 65 or you're 70, it's a hardship. It's not like you're 35 or 40, you can just pack all your stuff. And you got more stuff.
And you got more stuff, right? You got a lot more stuff. Yeah, yeah, you got a lot more stuff. So in thinking of this, I saw somebody refute this, or one of the things that Steve Harney did about home ownership. And Steve Harney believes that home ownership is better over time than the stock market. And he had a lot of pushback. He had a lot of comments saying that over time, the average appreciation is 4% in a home. Okay, but in stocks, it's 8 to 10%.
And that's the problem with Google. When you ask Google that question, it does show stocks as appreciating more. And that statistic by itself is misleading, because it doesn't take into account, if you own 500 shares of IBM stock and it goes up 8 or 10%, how much rent did you get from that IBM? You got none. If you owned a house for 500,000, you're going to get rent. So it might have only gone up 4%. It might have only gone up $20,000, but you got another $25,000 in rent. And so you cannot compare stocks and houses, and everybody does it all the time. And when you ask Google, Google doesn't explain to you the fact that if you own a house, A, you can live in a house, B, you can rent it out. It's when we talk about apples and oranges, there's no better of an illustration than apples and oranges than when we compare the stock market with houses. And there's no emotional appeal of moving into a new stock, not like there is moving into a new house.
Yeah, and the other thing I used to always think about, because when I was younger, I owned some stocks, but then you have to pay taxes too. I mean, the capital gains on, or the income tax is more on stocks, unless you hold them I mean, I guess what is it, 2 years you have to hold them before it's not.
It's still taxed. It just taxed at long-term rates. Yeah.
Yeah, passive versus active or something like that. Yeah, I don't dabble in the stock market anymore. You had given me some insight the other day about the appreciation, because I had done like 4% to 7%, and I should have just done maybe 3 to 4%. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was your comment about that?
Well, just if they go to Google, they're going to wonder about your statistics, because Google doesn't show the same thing as you showed. And your numbers are accurate if you throw in rental income or the cost of being in someplace. You got to live somewhere.
Yes.
So if you offset ownership with the cost of, if my house payment is $2,000 a month, but it costs me $2,000 to rent somewhere, I'm even.
So that's an interesting point, Jimmy. So here's what I think of this. So if I own a house and you own stock, you have to, so you're appreciating, let's say it is 8 to 10%, just for the sake of this example. And I'm getting 4 to 5% appreciation on my home. But you also have to pay a mortgage or a rent.
Yeah. Always. You got to live somewhere.
So my appreciation doesn't even take into consideration the equity that I'm building, because I'm paying monthly.
the equity that you're building faster, because if you move in today, it's $2,000 a month. 5 years from now, it's going to be $2,500 if you're renting. So you just made another $500 a month by owning, and
But
that's
my principal's gone down too, so
that's true.
my
That's true.
equity goes up, and I think that these numbers need to be more detailed to be accurate.
It comes down to, when we talk to somebody, we got to ask them, why would you buy a house? I mean, you got to pack all your stuff and move, and they better come up with some good reasons, or they're not going to go through all the pain. We need to find out, well, my landlord just raised the rent for the third time in 2 years. That's why I'm buying a house. I'm getting out of here. So they've got to have some emotional push to get a house, because it's not easy to buy a house. They would like
No,
it
it
to be
is.
easy, but it's not.
No, that's why you need a real estate agent, obviously. And by the way, you're doing the buyer brokerage class this week, the contracts class. That's on Friday, and presenting that buyer brokerage agreement. If you really delve into the 15 to 20 ways, I guess, or things that you do through the journey of buying a home, I think that it's easy to see the value of using a real estate agent.
And when you see it, it's easier to communicate it to your prospect. You have to have it yourself. The teacher can't give if the teacher doesn't have. You can't lead them to a transaction unless you actually know all the pitfalls, and you've actually really investigated this whole process by being in it and by looking at the charts and being able to show them, communicating that. It's really buyers brokers about communicating. Why would they not want to stay where they are?
You know, exactly. And we had a situation recently where an agent was having a bit of some difficulty with the transaction. But as far as her being able to handle the steps that she had to go through with the buyer, she was doing a very good job. The seller was just being a little bit difficult, if you
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
And her buyers said that she certainly navigated the transaction, you know, as if she were an experienced agent. Now, he knew that she wasn't. In this case, this was not an experienced agent. She maybe did 5 or 6 deals in her 8 years of being a real estate agent. But you know, you either get it or you don't. And I know experience is important, you know, especially when you're dealing, you know, with the buyer and the seller having problems. But can you speak a little bit to how understanding the and explaining the process to the buyer is an advantage for these newer agents?
Well, here's what I'm going to brag about brokers for a second here. You had the #1 Remax office in the world for 5 years, and I had
Yes.
the #1 Cinch One office in the world for 3 years. I don't think an agent needs experience. They need an experienced broker. What the agents need to do is they need to communicate with their buyers or their sellers, whatever their client is, on a daily basis. Call them every single day. If you're not sure what to say, go brainstorm with your broker. I don't think experience is a requirement to succeed in real estate at all. I think it's a requirement to have an experienced broker that can help you navigate through this. But I think the thing that's required is that constant communication with that buyer, that seller. Like you said, we had another agent that we recognized for her persistence. She said when she talked at the sales meeting last week, she said, I talked to that seller every single day until the deal closed. And it fell through 6 times. It finally closed on the 7th time. But the seller never blamed her because she talked to him every day. You don't need any experience to talk to somebody every day. You just need to go and call them up and say, look, I'm just checking in. Or, gee, this happened. Or, gee, nothing happened last night. You can relax. Or, I got some bad news. This happened last night. That communication, really, that makes the difference. It's not your knowledge. It's not your experience. It's your willingness to communicate. If you need answers, go talk to your broker or your brokers. Get them both, like tie up Ruthie and Jimmy at the same time.
Yes, and we'll have different opinions.
That's right, we will. They can pick which one they like.
You know, Jimmy, to that point, so if a newer agent, and we've hired a couple new agents lately, that I think are going to just be excellent. Anyway, so what they need, the message to them needs to be that, you know, if you're talking to your seller and or your buyer every day and you have a question, just say, hey, Jimmy, that's a great question. Let me ask my brokers. You know, they've been in this business for 30 years. Maybe this has come across their desk. You know, put it on us.
And there's a better way to say that. There's a better way to say that. There's a better way to say that. Let me double check with my broker, because they like people who double and triple.
Oh, yeah, that's
not
good.
Let me ask my broker, because then this implies I don't know. Let me double check with my broker, and then I'll call you back.
That's excellent. Yes, exactly. Yes. Let me check with my broker. Let me double check. I like that. Let me double check with my broker or my brokers. They have 30 years apiece or 40 or whatever we have, 60
Yeah,
years together, 70 years, a long time, many experiences. And, it's sometimes when I'm in my office and an agent will walk in and they'll say, gee, I got this terrible problem, and da, 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 they explain the problem, and me or you, we come up with the answer like that. And it's not because like we're, mensis intellectual capacity, but that experience stays in your brain and it just comes out when you need it. Do you find that to be true?
absolutely. That's why there is a reason that experience is important. It's not as important for an agent, but it is important that you have access to that experience level. And there's other ways to get it besides your broker. There's coaches and mentors and trainers and NAR, the library at NAR. The librarians there are bored to tears. You call the librarian at the NAR library and they'll give you answers.
Yeah, and I find that sometimes the more experienced agents, they'll have things that come up that you would think I'm talking 10, 15 years. And all of a sudden something comes up. And I think it was Rihanna that came in one day and was asking you, she was buying a house for herself. And there was something about the mortgage. I still don't understand your answer because I didn't, but you understood it right away.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I know. But she was, yeah, but it was just amazing that it just came right out of your mouth. And I had never even heard that question before. So yeah, so it's good that we can feed off each other too.
Well, and part of the way I feed off you is the thing, Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini, all these guys you listen to and you bring them into your show. I have to brag a little bit. I'm ahead on my goal is 2 books a month to read and 2 books to listen to. And I'm already done with my books for January.
Oh my gosh, that is so admirable. Congratulations. That is really good.
Just for you, I'm going to tell you, my goal is before January is out to have finished 3 classes, 2 online and 1 live. That's my goal, to finish 2. And I will be done with them by the sales meeting next week, which, by the way, the sales meeting next week, whether you're with us or not, we're going to Cello Towers. And whether you're with Love Las Vegas or 048 or any other company, I would look into Cello Towers because it's going to be a big thing for downtown by the Smith Center. And they'll do a real nice walk around for you there.
And there's going to be 240 available condos to sell, right?
And only 8 penthouses. So if you have somebody who likes to be at the top, there's only 8 of them.
Can you imagine the view from there? It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, the way they put the building in, the way they positioned it on the site, whether you're on the east side of the building or the west side of the building, either way, you're going to have a view of the Strip because they made it like that. What do they call that building in New York City that's so famous? It looks like an iron. I think they call it the Iron Building, and it's a triangle.
Yes. Yeah.
It's in all the movies.
Yes, I know. I see it all the time, and I've never been there, even though I've been to New York many times. Is it in New York or San Francisco? And it's in New York.
New York. There might be some in San Francisco built like that because they copy.
Yeah, there's some interesting architecture in San Francisco as well. But Jimmy, you're having an office meeting today, and one of the things that you're going to talk about is habits, right?
That's the whole meeting content. I'm going to make a couple announcements about what's going on in town and that they should know about. Michael Sweeney Train and Tour has his builder panel on the 18th. He'll release an email. It'll fill up in an hour or two. So watch for an email from Train and Tour and go to the panel on the 23rd at the LVR. And if you don't have your business plan written by now, on the 30th from 2 to 5, is it the 30th? Yeah, 30th from 2 to 5, we're having the business planning class at the office, and Ruthie and I are going to team teach it. If you don't have your business plan done, no more excuses. You got 2 weeks to get ready, show up at the class, pay the $20 or whatever. You get Ruthie and Jimmy together. And if you haven't got it done by, your penalty is pay us the $20.
It's interesting because Steve, Tom Ferry and Brian Buffini feed off each other. Yes. And so now Tom Ferry's 2024 business plan, which I have, and I'm going to share it in the group. One of the first things he says is, and Grant Cardone says the same thing: get your money right. Before you can plan, you have to know what your personal financial situation is. Before you can plan your business, you have to know that. And I know it seems, when you say it, it seems, well, of course. But a lot of people, when they do that business plan, they don't identify their in writing, on a spreadsheet or just on a tablet, here's my mortgage, here's my rent, here's my food, here's my gas, here's my kids, here's my school, here, whatever it is. You have to identify and know what your expenses are. You have to. And it's amazing to me how many people, pardon me?
Buffini says the exact same thing. He says a plan starts with a working home budget. And he says a working home budget means you look at it every month. That's what he means by working.
Yes. Yeah. And I told you many times, I have a spreadsheet. I go and I put, okay, here's what I'm going to sell this month, or here's what I'm going to rent this month, or here's whatever I'm going to do. My expenses are on that spreadsheet. So when I put my income there and my taxes and my savings, I know exactly, gee, I need to do more business. Mm-hmm. Or, gee, I had a great month. I mean, it just is your barometer for how you're going to work for the next 20, 30 days.
Well, and I had a question in my mind this morning. If you showed someone your business plan, how much would they pay you for it? Would they actually pay you? Is your business plan good enough for this? Damn, I want to copy it. How much you want? I'm going to copy your business plan. Would they pay you for it? If they wouldn't pay you anything for it, man, maybe you need to work on it.
Yeah. Well, over the years, I have used this spreadsheet, and I tell everybody it auto-populates. So I know if I don't do this much business in January, how that's going to affect me the rest of the year. Maybe January looks good, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I need to up my number of calls or my number of transactions for February so that March is good. So when you have a rolling total and or what your expenses are, it makes life so much easier. My gosh, you can go to sleep at night and not worry.
Well, it's interesting. Tom Ferry's business plan is 23 pages, and Brian's is 8 or 9. Might be 9. And like you said, at the business planning class, we'll give them access to it. They can get it from tomferry.com or whatever, but we'll make sure they have it so they can do their first one, and then they can benchmark that against Brian Buffini's, and they can benchmark that against Tom Ferry, because it's called reiterative enhancement. It gets better and better.
Yes, and we're looking for this year to be really good, and I believe it's starting out pretty good. I mean, we're doing more than 60 sales a day, so we're blessed here in Las Vegas, and we have so many things coming online, and that they are going to build. Now they're going to build underground tunnels under Las Vegas, which is going to eliminate a lot of the traffic and the problems that people think we're going to have if we keep building more and having more people. But, Musk is already planning different places under the city. And he has this terrific machine that saves like most of the time in drilling underground. And it's not going to be a subway. It's going to be tunnels, and they are going to be earthquake. If we have an earthquake, they're going to be safe. I mean, he's done so much research. And if you go to boring.com, which is the name of his company, Boring, BORING, which is so appropriate, very clever. Anyway, it's amazing. And I do have a video, which I don't have time to show today. Maybe next time we have this, our get together here, I will show you the video and some of the things that he's doing that are just unbelievable, and this city continues just to amaze me. And Jimmy, just one more thing that makes me, do you know when the train is going to begin?
No, they haven't announced construction start yet, but they've gotten a lot of money already set aside for it.
And is that Virgin or is it?
No, it's called Brightline.
Brightline.
If you wanted to find out, if you want to check, go to the RJ and look up Brightline, search for Brightline, you get it.
Yeah. And that's the train, not the magnetic train, right?
Right. It's a high-speed train. It's not magnetic.
Yeah, which I think is a better idea. I like my feet on the ground.
Yeah. Magnetic scares some people.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, let's have a great day, and new year, new you, right?
Make sure you put in your calendar, 3/22 is when we start Pathways to Mastery with Brian Buffini. We've condensed it down to 4 sessions. We're going to double up the sessions. It's an 8-session course. We're going to do the first 2 sessions on 3/22 in the afternoon, and it's going to be intense. It's going to be 1 month. You're going to have all of Buffini's strategies and plans, and you'll be in a group of people that are trying to get better. It's about $600 if you go. If you don't go, if it costs you 1 commission, that's $9,000 or $10,000. Costs you 10 grand not to go. And we only do it once a year. This is it. So if you get
This is
Ruthie
it.
and Jimmy and Kane all helping you, and the group helping you, set the time aside for it. And if you can't afford it, you need it.
You need to, right? Exactly. You've got time to quit drinking Starbucks every day and save that money.
Yep.
Jimmy, thank you so much. I'll see you at the office.
Okay, Ruthie.
Bye, everybody. We love you. Remember to comment, subscribe, and tell us whether you want to love us or like us.